Welcome to selfdiscoveryradio.com, where the discovery of self is but a show away. With 1,000+ archive shows and new shows coming to you every Tuesday, we bring you illuminating people from around the globe. Visit our store for their services and books and enjoy the show. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guests today are Christina Hill and her Archangel Athella. We're going to be hearing from both of them today. Guidance from Athella coming through Christina on what we can do to survive this world. Well, you know, folks, it's all up to us. It's all within us. If we started living life from the inside out, we would actually understand what life is all about, the meaning of life. It is to get out there and live in meaningful purpose, to contribute to the world, to be of service, not of servitude, to embrace all the beauty, the delights, the wonderment, the excitement, the everything that is in your now. It is all achievable. It is all obtainable. Everything that you ever desired is right there. But don't desire it from the mind. Desire it from the soul, the heart, and the spirit, and your knowingness. And then you'll truly know what you need to know when you need to know it. So Christina is a very special little angel here, double angel, because she's a psychic channeler. And she she psychically channels Athella. So we're going to find out a little bit of how Athella came to her, or Athella came to her, and what she says through her. But I think, having spoke to Christina, they are one, totally one. And her ability is just to let her energy flow and the wisdom to pour out and to open up your soul so you can hear your divine message that will resonate with your heart and your spirit. Very much exudes from her. So let's take this journey and find out from both of them what we can do to embrace ourselves from the inside out, and what we can do to start contributing to humanity and healing it and bringing about that beautiful harmony, that beautiful symphony of divine energy that is here to move us forward and not hold us back. Welcome to the show, Christina and Athella.
Thank you. We both are very much here now in presence, and I think listeners can feel that already. There's an energy here. It's a palpable, soft stillness, and that's where it begins. So working, the inner workings and the inner sharing with ourselves, and thus, you know, thrusting that to the world, living on purpose, as you say. I believe, and Athella teaches this, that this begins with a soft quieting, a stillness in our everyday life, in our practice. And of course, we all have guides. Some people call it other things, and that's okay, but they're here, and we have assistance. We're always backed up with our guides, and we have this backing that we can fall back on. And that kind of backing it can take many shapes. You can begin with a meditation practice, and this is something Athella encourages. This is how we get centered every day, and needs to be a part of the self-care. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I think you had asked, Sarah, to really find out how I came to know Athella. It's something that, yes, I've touched on lightly on my website. I have a bio there on athella.org. You can read about that, about Athella and myself. And it is a double angel story. I really appreciate that you have said it that way, because there's a union here. Yeah. And the way that I see humanity evolving is that we get to know our guides, and suddenly there's a merger that happens in our life. And before you know it, you are actually living in and out of spirit, in and with the guides that you have around you, and that line is kind of blurred. It just meshes. And that's when I think what we call quote-unquote magic, miracles begin to happen, and life flows, and we're in that energy flow consistently, constantly. It's not a one-time thing. Athella came to me, though, in 2015, just made a grand appearance. I had a past life regression that I had never done before, and she just appeared. And literally, I was very, very deep, in a very deep trance-like state, exploring, kind of feeling about, and she came to me and she appeared to me in full form, just very up close, and said in a whisper, really, you are waking up to your life purpose, and all the things that you have gone through up until this point have led you here. And this is what we're going to do now. And I'm going to work through your body, through your voice, and you're going to help heal other people through that. You're going to be the open channel for this. And I'm going to show you how. And you're not going to know how. You're not going to be able to think your way through this. And so that was the start. And that was... I can't really even describe it. It was a total surprise. Had someone asked me many years ago if I would be doing this type of service, I would have been stunned and I would have laughed. I don't even know what that's about. but I said, okay, this is something that I must do. Clearly, this is my calling. And so from that moment forward, just one foot in front of the other, being led. And guided to meet so many different people, mentorship, learning more about myself, learning about a lifestyle that is conducive to doing open channeling work, first-person channeling, requiring something of a specific lifestyle. And then just being privy to these miraculous events, these sittings, these times with other humans coming and desiring to know their guides, or just to sit with Athella, just to sit and talk, or not talk. And so that has really, it's grown exponentially. And my connection then, the union that we're talking about here, has also grown exponentially. It's very strong. So I'm in connection with Athella all the time. It's a lifestyle in of itself. And I also take my cues from her. She's the CEO of my company. She's the one who says, and I recently, it's funny, I recently met with, we're doing a retreat coming up in Hawaii. I met with the director who we're going to be working with at her venue, her Healing Arts Center. And we sat down to have a vegan meal and some tea. And she said, boy, Christina, it must be so wonderful that you don't have to really do any of the work. You can just ask Athella for what is needed, and then you just go and do it. It's kind of like you're the employee. And she's like, how wonderful that must be that you don't have to do. And we laughed. I mean, it was funny because, you know, in part, some of that's very true, but also it's walking in faith. You know,
yes.
It's trust. And my mind flips over to a man who walked across the Grand Canyon and was just, you know, walking that tightrope, you know, in trust and faith. And that's really kind of what that is. But also knowing that this is service, and this part of this is education. So teaching people how to form that bond with the guidance source or the energy that you feel connected to in your life, and making that your first connection. And from there, you know, going through life in that way. Whether it's regarding business or with personal development, your relationships. I mean, people, I think, sometimes get the idea that this spirituality stuff or this connection with your guides, it's only for the ultra elite spiritual, or if you have something big come up in life.
Or it's only for Sundays.
Only for Sundays.
Yeah, people don't realize it's an emergence. You know, I look at the musician. You know, that violin is just a violin. That person is just a person with music trapped inside of them. But when they're put together, the symphony, the music that comes out, you know, is a partnership. And when we look at our spirit, it is a partnership.
Yes.
And that, you know, I call that knowingness. You know, when I know what I know without any doubt, without any query, I just know what I need to know. At that moment, I always trust that. That is that divine message that has come through me.
Right.
I say it's given to the soul, that divine intellect that then resonates with the heart and truth. It's given to the spirit to act on or articulate, and then the mind knows what it needs to know when it needs to know it. and there is no argument of it whatsoever. It is simply and utterly and completely pure truth. And it's such a wonderful place to be, because as you said a moment ago, don't think it, feel it. And I felt I am a feeler of information. I have to feel that information. Does it resonate? Does it connect? Can I feel it through my very being to actually understand it? Knowledge itself is knowledge. But
Right.
until we apply it and we feel it and we understand it, that's all it is. It's data,
Right.
right?
And moving away from technology age, I understand we're surrounded by technology, robots. We know what's happening in the world. Um, we're moving, though, more into our humanity. So let's just take this for an example. You used the example violin, which is very interesting to me. Athella has often used musical instruments to point to this, where we feel we've taken up residence in ourselves. We're able to connect with ourselves, and it's like playing this beautiful masterpiece. We just feel aligned.
Yeah.
And then we are in the knowing, as you say. But we're coming from an era or a time where we're surrounded by electronics. And so I'm curious then, when do you feel most connected, Sarah, to your inner knowing? You're thinking this information, you're feeling it. When do you feel that most? Is it are you outside? Are you in your office when you feel that most? What is the environment that you're in, do you find most often, where you feel more connected?
I think it's all about the energy connection. It can happen anywhere, anytime. It's just like if the vibe is right.
Yes,
If you're
yes.
in the groove,
Right.
that harmony is there.
In the flow.
And so it
Yes.
can happen, that resonance can happen anytime. I spend a lot of time in my office reaching out to people across the world and interviewing such wonderful people like yourself. And then I'm always in the flow then. We're channeling ourselves right now.
I was just going to say, you were, and in the beginning, your intro there, another channeling, it comes up. It's something that, as you say, you're in the flow and it just happens. It's very organic. But I highlight this because there are opportunities where we can practice if someone feels that they are blocked from knowing this, really integrating what we're talking about, what we're speaking about right now. How do we take this into practical day-to-day living? That may be a question that listeners are thinking about. Well, this all sounds great. How do I do that? How do I feel the information?
Step out of mind, yes.
Yes. So Athella really is the coach of that. And in a few moments, I'd love to have her, take it from here and speak to this. But there are definitive things that one can do to nurture oneself, to bring the body to a place where, as you say, the channeling happens. It's an organic flow. You're really in the knowing. Your wisdom, your information, decision making becomes easier. Life flows easier, and there's really a coming away from electronics or having these things that I think often we consider normal. And veganism is another way. But the things that we do in life that can interfere or create interference for ourselves. So if people are feeling blocked or they feel like they're not in that flow, there's definitive things that one can do, and that if you create a lifestyle based around that, then you find that you don't really fall out of that. You actually have a continuous, strong connection. When you're feeling the knowing, Sarah, where do you feel it in your body? Because I'm always curious to ask this of people. It seems that you have a really clear, open conduit for channeling yourself. So I'm curious where you feel that.
It's the gut.
Totally. Yeah.
And then it resonates up. I know that most people, energy comes from the earth, from the roots, and then goes up into their branches. I'm a branch down. So for me, the energy comes in, through the top of the trees into the belly of the trunk, and then out through the earth to be fed to other people. That is my role.
Yes.
But for a very long time, couldn't understand kind of why I was upside down in life. This I'm designed differently because I'm not. Um, I would say I am more of a spiritual being than a human being. But and that disconnection has been there. One before we bring Athella on, at the age of 5, you began assisting people during their dying process, supporting them as a crossover. I too did that, but not in the physical sense. I got them when the spirit left the body, and would help them cross over then. And as I used to say, I used to work for death. And help people kind of find their light or their path if they were confused. And I never knew who was going to come to me, right? It was just a question of which bandwidth we're on, and is that vibration energy there, and then just assist people. And as a child, I played with dead people, and I thought everybody did. So it's a life that I lived, but it was completely the Twilight Zone back in my day, because we didn't talk about that. It was just this strange child.
Sarah, here we go with the channeling again. So just to kind of, I'm pointing at this so people know, channeling happens all the time. It's a normal thing. We do it all the time. But this, I want to point to this. What you're saying here is literally, a duplicate of my early beginnings, with the exception of the physicality of the dying process with people. I would meet them there as they were transitioning from physical to non-physical. But like you, as a child, it's playful in a way, and you're very innocent, and you don't have, or at least I did not have, an outlet for education, like, this is happening to me. What is this? I would like to ask questions about this. Is this something that I just figured everyone had that.
Yeah.
And it was normal.
So when they look at you kind of cross-eyed and shaking their head and kind of thinking, they're coming to take me away, haha.
Well, yes, they're coming to take me away is right. I always was, always under the thumb of pressure by, and psychological pressure and religious pressure, and not that anything bad with religion. I'm not saying that at all, but in this particular scenario, it was a child being filled with fear, because in the sharing there would come punishment, and there would come judgment and shame and all kinds of things. So there was a danger associated with it, and then later finding out through discovery, and I know you've done a lot of your own discovering about the lifetimes before this one, finding myself in that very same predicament, burned at the stake for for things that I knew that somehow I shouldn't know, or this goes against what is written. This is the law, and so therefore, you're being judged, held at judgment. And this kind of absolute judging or damnation is really, it's something I think that we carry over, and until we bring it full circle, we see that cycle, and then we release. And we say, well, and this is in my meeting Athella, my question to Athella was, am I going to be able to do this? So in total honesty here, even sitting down sometimes to talk in interviews is like, there's a bit of preparation for me, just knowing that there is safety, and that is the ability to share in a real way and just offer it out without feeling that and being attached anymore, having those ties anymore to fear, or the judgment, because it is a gift, and your gift. I think it's phenomenal to hear these stories. I think that's why collaborating these stories, putting them in books and things, sharing with the world, is that other people hear it and then they go, oh, my experience, yours, and then others, we can all come together and we feel this connection, this harmony, and that's the healing. I mean, that's the releasing of.
I've interviewed quite a number of people who are conduit writers, and one of them was about Atlantis before it sank, and there's kind of a love story in there, but it's talking about the life and everything else and how it came to be, the sinking of it, where they originally came from, and I had such an affinity to it. It was like she was telling my story. There's also been the memories of the Incas, and going back to the Egyptians. I know I came here to teach that connection to the divine energy, It's something I've always done for all my lifetimes. And when you talk about the old persecution and the torture, I think I've been sliced and diced in every way you can think about. Um, but you are who you are and who you're designed to be. It's my DNA, and I
Mm,
could no more change or be anything else.
right.
Then I could change, become a doorknob right now. It's as Popeye says, I am what I am, right?
I am that I am. And that is so true. That's not just words, that's the
Mm.
truth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and people feel it. So, my introduction invitation is for everyone here listening to this is to feel that, feel the
Mm.
energy that's here. And Sarah, I've seen some of your interviews. It's like there is a potent energy that's healing, even if we, get past all the words and conversation,
Hmm.
but the energy here, that's what we really, that's what my divine purpose it really is
Yes.
to offer that up to other people so that they can then speak their truth or write their truth, go out and live it.
Yes.
Uh, and I am that I am. It's precious and it's true, and we cannot change, and we can just embrace. And so hugging of the self and embracing of the self. Um, and I'm very honored to hear your story, to hear what you have shared. Atlantis, the pyramids in particular, again, I feel like there's some really similar lines here.
Mm.
I've done some regression work myself and have worked through that and have seen there's great wisdom to be taken from Atlantis, from all of the community and the healing and the medicine, the knowledge and wisdom, and bringing that up into our current world. So, and also from the building and
Yeah.
really the sitting with those people who were privy to living in those times of pyramids. And this is all wonderful information, as you say. Athella has spoken to me a few times, though, about getting into these intellectual discussions and how fascinating they are. And she's also said, and she's cautioned me, she's like, we don't want to create sensationalism. Talking about things is wonderful, but it's actually for humanity at this point, at this particular point, her role is in working with people is to guide them to their own healing, to living day to day in a very real way in connection. And it's very simple. It's like back to basics. So there isn't a lot of discussion about what we're talking about in Athella's work, in her early work anyway. She believes that humans aren't really ready for that yet. There's still humans that go, and are eating a lot of fast food every day, or that
Mm.
are addicted to things, or that are feeling that disconnection from themselves, really, or from the ones that they love. And so that's really where she works with people, and that's where her primary concern is. So it's very fundamental. It's very basic, kind of back to kindergarten level type stuff. And then when a human is evolved or ready, and a human asks for it, and with their guides, she'll steer people into past life. They'll go into great detail. I mean, I can share with you countless times we've done regression work with a client who is ready for that, ready to see, ready to kind of open that doorknob, walk through the door, and explore, and then release, but at the right time, at the proper time for that person.
I
Um,
think people are on what I call the bridge right now. From the third to the fifth dimension, we're fifth dimensioners. And the third dimension are still those people that are kind of trapped in the flight or fight mode. Survival at all costs. And the fourth dimension, that bridge, is where people are awakening and understanding there has to be more. I can't just continue to live in this fear, in this entrapment. There must be more. My soul seems to be calling me, and they're willing to take the journey across the bridge. You and I were people, you were that side of the bridge helping people cross over. I'm the meet and greet at the other side, helping them now to go to that next level on who can help them take them to that next level. But I think that's where we're at right now. I think very, very soon we're going to see The people that haven't been willing to get on the bridge are going to get left behind because of the energies are rising so high that it's time to get on that bridge. But as people walk that bridge in trust, in faith, in openness, that's when they realize actually how beautiful, how safe, and how wonderment it is. And they truly and utterly awaken, from that inside out. And Self-Discovery Radio is about people who have taken what I call the redirect. The people who have had the kiss on the brow or the cosmic hatchet in the head.
Mm-hmm.
And it's helped them redirect into their true meaningful purpose in life, in their true divine spirit, because they were willing to cross over on that bridge. So we're on either side of that bridge there, helping people embrace who they really are. And it's when they have that discovery and they become that beacon of light, it is a very beautiful thing to see.
It is, and to find that we're all able to do this. This is not a superhuman feat.
No, not at all.
Available to all.
Yes, absolutely. It's just a question of switching on your light within and letting it glow. Everybody's looking for the external, right? It's internal, folks.
Yes!
The wiring is internal,
The wiring is internal. Because I can hear people say, well, how do I get clients who say this, how do I turn the light on?
Mm-hmm.
How do I get in there to turn the light on? So, again, I think it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
You must find what you're aligned with. If it's not me, there are many gurus, spiritual leaders, and others. It could even be your pet.
Yes, oh yes, I'm sure on that
so
too.
Find what works for you.
Yes.
Go to
whatever you
that.
Connect with, right? Whatever that energy signature is.
You start with that, and you spend more time there than in shadow.
Exactly.
More time there
than
fear.
In the dark. It's only in the darkness that you start recognizing the light.
Right.
Right.
It takes the darkness to be in the yeah. And again, these are not words. I've lived this. I know you have.
Oh yeah.
You can live out of these, the words have meaning behind them. And then I think the next step to finding that inner light, being the beacon of light, which is not superhuman, it's not, we are all able to live in this flow and come across that bridge. Finding that inner mechanism, I think it begins, I know that it begins, knowing that you are literally engulfed in energy, that you are energy. We hear this a lot, that we're energy. And then people, they go out and they live different than that, as if they're not energy. But you are, and you are a vibration. So we can turn it up, we can turn it down. We can turn it up, we can do whatever we want with that. But I think the inner mechanism, the light switch that we're talking about, so that we can be the beacon of light, I think that it comes on the second that we make the decision that we're going to do this and we're going to continue the continuity. We're going to let the light shine, be in the flow, be creative, live on purpose, that we're going to continue to do that every day, that it's not just on Sundays. And I believe that what Athella really does best too is she guides people in how to turn the switch on. It's different for everyone. And some people are in different areas of their path, and for some it's more physical. For others, it's just the knowing of the names of their guides. For others, it may be taking a journey somewhere else, and then, or finding their life mate, or finding a book, And it could be just sitting, and doing nothing. Eckhart Tolle sat on a park bench for 2 years.
Yeah. Yes. And, it's like Michel Pascal on a meditator, and he talks about, becoming the mountain amongst the chaos.
Yeah.
Right, and everybody's talking, but my life is too chaotic. Everything is too loud. Everything is too busy. When you actually learn to find the peace and become the mountain amongst the chaos, then you now have the ability to take that beautiful divine inner journey, and be able to hear through all that filter of chaos the truth. But it isn't about detaching yourself. It's about becoming centered and grounded within yourself, so that you can know the difference between the chaos and the truth.
Yes.
which can be very beautiful.
I think that is beautiful. There's beauty right there. We've eclipsed on something that is, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's it. It is. Right? We don't need to define. It just is. Right? And we've become so intellectualized as human beings, which is wonderful to have a great high IQ, but sometimes people IQ themselves out of existence, into disconnection, because now everything has to be verified and datafied or vilified, and it's like, go back to the truth, which is simple. It just is.
Got to be able to turn it off. Like, put the violin away. And the mind activity, because we're amongst brilliant minds, there's brilliance. And like you said, intellectually, the development, technology, and the need to find out why, to question. The mind activity and the mind chatter, this is another point that, and I'm going to just pass it off to Athella, but there's an energy that happens when there's no thinking. So spending a little bit of time in no thought land every day will help you to find the centering, the grounding, and then creating that space between you and the chaos of the external and what's going on the outside. That's another really big question that I get with people is, well, I can't stop thinking. My mind is going. There's so much chaos in my life. There's so much going on. I don't have time for myself. When it literally only takes a few seconds of mindful awareness of no thinking and just coming into what is, to really experience that truth. And then it gains momentum. Not that we need to define what it is, but it gains momentum, and then it becomes a more continuous way of living. And I think when we are in connection with angels, with our source, and we combine that with no thinking every day, and a healthy dose of basic, good, clean living lifestyle tips, which Athella will share with you, I think that is the recipe for living on purpose and really living from the divine and feeling rooted in yourself.
And I think let's hit on something about no thinking. People think that okay, but how do I turn the thinking off, the thoughts off? There's always a dialogue going on in my head. It's like a TV channel. There's a movie playing. But what it is, it's either distracted by, there's a little play going on, or there's music. And that allows the mind to go and have its own little chatter somewhere, and allow your soul and your heart and your spirit to think. Right? So it's not about quietening your mind, which sometimes has its own little world. It's about making that little world go off somewhere else so you can truly hear what's going on in the inside. So sometimes it might be music, or it might be something else that detracts the mind and its thoughtfulness, and allows your heart and spirit and soul to truly get into the feeling thought, where you can really understand what it's truly saying, because the mind is being preoccupied.
Yes, and there's an energy, so what we're talking about too, there's an energy behind thought world, thinking, and that dialogue, and there's an energy that is what Athella calls light streams, which is I think more divine inspiration, or just feeling that connection, and then quiet stillness, that has an energy. So we can just you're right, you can keep your mind pushing it off somewhere else, the thinking mind, for a while, and you can use different tools for that. There's many books on meditation, how different forms for that, or just come back and connect to your breath. But notice though that when the inner dialogue quiets down, the energy that's there, that's all that you must do, is just notice that.
Yes.
There's no need to overthink it. It's just to notice.
That's the point. Don't.
There's
a
Isn't that funny?
great
That's
thing,
the point.
somebody cross-legged and going, "Come on, meditation. How long is this going to take?"
And it's funny too, because then you're halfway there.
Yeah.
It's just being aware that you're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Awareness of self. I think it's all part of the journey. But are human beings capable of not thinking? Yes, absolutely. Mm. Do we take the time every day to create that atmosphere and give that gift to ourselves? No, we do not.
No.
And it's so vital, so that when you do go and think, that your thought energy is much more powerful, more productive, more organized. You're not spatial. Yeah. So if you're one of those people who's living in the inner turmoil, the inner chaos, I hear you. I know what you're talking about. And the dialogue being, it can be rumination, really, really fast, speedy mind, racy mind. So just with practice alone, and I don't mean hours and hours, you don't have to go to a monastery, right, but just 5 minutes of the intention of moving away from thought for a while, and then focusing on, it could be music, as you say, the sound of dolphins. It could be listening to a recording that you've made for yourself, something even on YouTube. There's lots of free resources there, or just your breath. Where I like to do it too is take any environment, no matter where you are, and listen to the sound of where you are. Be fully engulfed in that, if it's on the subway or wherever it happens to be.
There's music everywhere.
There's music everywhere.
Yeah, and everything is talking to you. Everything is talking to you, and when you decide to tune into that, you realize the message you seek, was in that train going by, or in the rustle of the leaves, or in that horn at that particular time, Everything is communicating with you. It says you're so busy trying to think it, you're not, again, feeling the knowledge that's coming to you. It's being aware, being tuned in. Step out of yourself and tune into, where you're meant to be.
Even the physical body, we're given physical form for lots of good reasons, but one of them too is bring yourself back to body. If you feel yourself getting all in your head and the activity, even coming back to the hands. So, and what I'd love to do, Sarah, here is, with the time that we have remaining, I'd love to invite Athella to join us, and just to kind of demonstrate too, something that I do in my process is getting really clear, getting very quiet and still, is I do use the body. It's kind of a staircase method that I've used over the years, a technique where I'm feeling my body, relaxing every muscle. It's very, very profound, deep relaxation. It's something that I coach people in too, for that very reason. When thought worlds kind of takes your life by storm, and thought will take you anywhere. So it's stepping out of that, feeling the body, the inner body, outer body, hearing sounds in your environment. And then flying free, release, and then letting what comes in, just allowing and noticing that. So there, right there, I've given the, I don't want to call it a secret, it's not a secret, but that is the way I believe, this is one way a channeling process can work, and it works for everyone. It's available to everyone. So free energy.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's always been free. We've just got to tap into it.
That's right.
The universal gas station, right?
That's right. I love these phrases that you use here. Sarah, thank you so much. I'm going to go away for a bit and get really quiet and still, and invite our other guest, Athella, and love and light. Thank you very much.
Okay. Stay with us, folks. Athella will be with us in a moment.
Why not come and sit quietly? Sitting quietly with Angel. Utilize this time to peel away from everyday life. That is my purpose, my view. In my capacity, I see busy minds, activity, motion, high velocity. Though we are all able to sit in a chair or lie down and soothe, be soothed. Energy. I only speak in words because humans require this at this time. There will come a time where words are not needed. Some of you are more advanced. You feel. I believe this is topic for conversation. Felt energy systems. Consumption. What you consume will greatly impact your ability to soothe yourself, to feel the energy that is all around you. Eating light foods. Food is energy. You may choose to eat high vibrational foods. You will feel more light. It is simplistic. though it will not always be so, I speak in a soft, angelic voice. This is to communicate with you softly. The body system slows down. You feel more serenity. We are at the brink, just at the surface. More and more people are needing this energy. The way it seeps in is different for every human. To become aware, to hear, to feel. This will require change. The way a mother reassures child, I am here to do this. With compassion. The breath, spirit of life. It is here we begin. I encourage humans to begin with the breath, to breathe with me. Nothing else to do. Yes, there will be questions. You may find from time to time you are needing advice, counsel, encouragement, or this word you call healing. All of this is secondary to your knowing that you are a spiritual light being, encapsulated in physical form for a time, only a time, to live in joy, to learn and be of service. Return to what is primary. Do this first. Get yourself as you are awakening in the morning. First thing, honor the breath. Be with it. Just this. before the mind goes. Thoughts. What you must do with your day, your plans, impressions. Before all of this, be with your breath, your spirit. To feel better, and that is the desire for the whole of humanity, to feel peace, love, balance, wholeness. Invest yourself, apply yourself, discipline yourself to follow the map I have laid out. I have written it down for you to see. Human eyes, they read, they think, then you choose. Choose to integrate the ideas. Live them. You will feel better immediately. No belief is required. No contemplation. And you will find it enjoyable. Some of you are already doing these things. The greatest obstacle to your highest evolution is obstruction, inability to come to this place where we are sitting right now. This energy, you do not get it or obtain it. You do not need to reach it. If you are hearing this, sit quietly. You are there. Breathe. Very soon, thinking will resume. Or you may find it continuous. That is fine. Know and remember this energy field. Notice the quality of it. Direct yourself into this field more and more. Sarah, the one who has visited you just today. Ursuline, a human name for a human-like angel. Congratulates you. You are feeding those who have become ill, nursing them to health, restoration. As you do, you feed yourself. All that is needed, more journeying outside your door, on the outside. Draw yourself away from electronics and a fast for when you need your highest strength, or to feel more loose, free. Be in the sun. Your nourishment coming from within and spiraling up, going upwards. I have looked at you, scanning you. The body is healthy. Maintenance. And feeling your body moving. That is all that is required. This will give you a catapult of higher creativity. The hands, they warm up and they feel the sensations. This spiritual movement of the hands, you can transfer from one hand to the other, playfully so, igniting other pathways, other parts of you. And eventually even closing the eyes. The hand simply moves. This is all being hoisted outward. The megaphone to the world. Keep it up. You have so many around you. Guides that come to you, those who are new, students, seeking your advice, your teacher. Lucid dreams, placing your attention on pillow as you drift away will provide even more creative energy. This is love. It is a vibration humans recognize, recognition. Forgetting the information, be with this energy, this vibration. And the change you seek, the calm, it is created organically. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
So, coming back. And there's a tranquility, and I feel very honored to share that. And that's Athella, really.
Yes. It is beautiful to be able to have someone who can speak to others, to transcend that message across, because not everybody has that ability to hear it, and have someone come and open those doors and show them it's a safe place to be, and that fundamentally it's about the breath. Step into the breath and go with the flow. The energy will take you where you need to go. And I thank her for the message to me. I do agree. I need to step away from the computer. 8 hours a day, yes. I need to get moving and embrace that wind and that breeze in my hair.
I feel that's such poetry in motion for you, though, Sarah, and it's so true. And yet we need the reminders, but I think you already knew that.
Oh,
you know?
I did. It's just making the time for it, and that's another thing that we have to pay attention to. Your whole process took a while to do, with a lot of silence in between, and everybody thinks that we need to have everything filled, but it's in the silence that we hear the knowledge.
Oh, you're gonna make I feel tears coming up. That is so precious what you just said. Yes.
So we mustn't be afraid of those silent moments. We don't have to fill them with thoughts. The way we feel, we translate those thoughts, and that's where the peace lies. Stop trying to build something up into every moment of our being. No, it's that nothingness is everythingness, and it's only when you're into nothingness do you understand the everything it is.
And our bodies being ancient in the way that they are, our bodies know that.
Yeah. Our spirit knows that. It's just somehow along our wiring. Our teachings don't. When it all comes down to it, is we're functioning on old programming. And I call it the humanoid programming.
Oh.
Right? It's not the spirit program, and the spirit's been trying to speak to us for centuries about, come back, where did you go? The peace lies with us in unison, not in divide. And it's only when we're willing to step into that flow, that breath, that energy, that silence, do we understand what we need to know, and understand the connection, that unison, that instrument and being, the music that we can play together. But we must be willing to step into that, and not like, hurry up, teach me something, or
hurry up and let me learn.
Yes.
And it's a grasping feeling. It's a
yeah.
And it's and I so appreciate what you have said about honoring the gaps, even in the gaps between the words or the gaps of silence, that those should be honored. And with the chaos and the noise of the world, especially important as someone views this, that there can be, and we don't have to force it, but there can be these gaps of silence in day-to-day living and in these types of recordings. So I'm joyful that we had that experience. And Athella, she kind of goes and works at her own pace. And I use the word work, but it's actually not work. It's something else. And that allows people to come in to kind of like grab your surfboard and come out,
ride the wave
with
but
it's very different when you're in that. It's just a total opposite of moving from one dimension to the other. Athella has used that example too. On my website, athella.org, there's a great video clip about channeling, and it highlights a building, and there are many floors, and on certain floors it is chaos. It's chaotic, and there's racing about, and everyone's, in that mode, I think, at some point or another. And then as you get closer to the top, though, there is spaciousness, and there's that ability to ride the wave, and those pauses and gaps of silence, which are so so infrequent, I think, in our society.
Well, we got somebody else stirred up here. The dog has come to join us. She's felt this energy and wants to cash in on it.
Cash in, because our animals feel it too.
And they give it as well. I mean, the purity of it, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And may I see your doggie? Can you?
Yes. Well, actually, it's my grandpuppy. Unfortunately, I lost my dog and cat this last year, and I look after my son and his girlfriend's dog. So this is a
Is
Chihuahua.
that a Skippy or Chihuahua?
She's a Chihuahua something. And I think she thinks she's a cat. Sometimes I think she thinks she's an Egyptian cat, the way she demands attention.
Yeah, and there's a forward. It's like when you see them at the stance, there's a posture there too that would say, yeah, I'm almost guardian kitty, regal.
And I think if people are having a hard time sometimes tapping in, having an animal in your arms as you try and go into this flow will only help you, because they're there already.
Yes.
And, if you just hug them and hold on to them and stroke them as you're breathing and just let them take you, and you'll suddenly find yourself in that spot, in that space, in that beautiful silence where everything you need to know is.
Yes.
And an animal can really do that for you, even a sleeping baby. There's something about the purity of their energy. They don't have an agenda, except for a cookie at the end of it.
That's right. A reward at the end of that. And they're so at now. And there's never going to be a time other than now.
No. And that is something we need to learn as human beings. We're so constantly preparing for tomorrow, living for tomorrow, or it's all about tomorrow. No, your tomorrow will be as good as the seeds you planted and nourished today. It is about now, the now. And if you do it right now, your tomorrow is already taken care of, right?
Absolutely true. And honoring the now without trying to alter or change. Just here now. I agree with you. And what a fine demonstration right here, right now, is just that energy, just as you're petting. What's his name?
Her name is Abby.
Abby.
Say hi, Abby.
Yeah.
The dramatics.
Upward, I see that. Oh, that's gorgeous. Yeah. That is so special too. It is like the love there between the animals. But I, being an animal lover myself, I have to say too, for people who find that they can't really get there in other more conventional ways, is sitting in the now and letting our pets be our Zen master, teacher, and just feeling, taking our cue from the animals and even plants.
Yes.
People who are really attuned or aligned with plants, even water.
Oh, yeah. And for me, trees, breeze, and water, those are my conduits completely. And, walking along the trees and they're busily rustling. And sometimes they say, stop shouting at me. I can't hear you all at once.
And there's no story. There's no energy story. I never saw a tree feel sorry for itself. I mean, you don't.
No.
Pure.
Even in the broken and distortedness or anything else, it's just, that wonderful matrix of camaraderie, right, that they have. And I think that's something we're missing as human beings, is that everything in nature has a connection through the roots, through the vibration, through that matrix, that thread. Even the wind and the clouds, everything has a unison, but we've forgotten to be in that unison ourselves. We've forgotten connection, and we are individual. It is important that our cellular structure be strong so we can be part of that collective cell, because that's what makes the body whole. One cell breaking down, everything breaks down. So it's very important that we place importance upon our lives, not self-importance, but importance upon our role, and be as abundant and juicy and plump and delicious as we can be, because that makes we're contributing to society. But it is about so we can be of service to one another. Not servitude, service.
That's exactly right. What a great fine distinction that is. That's exactly right. And it is taking care of oneself is the selfless state.
Yes.
And it starts with very simple things. What we're talking about here is not difficult. It's very easy to. We begin by doing just what you'd said. Is we begin, by looking at our environment, just really connecting to our natural world around us, to ourselves, being kindness to ourselves and to the breath. Simple things like this.
And gratitude.
Gratitude.
Right. It's a huge thing. I mean, I realized for a while I had forgotten to find joy in my life. I found joy in my work, but in anything outside of that, that's when, you're saying step away from the computer or,
that's right. And
go find joy elsewhere, which,
isn't that praised in our society?
Yes.
Is like work
Yes.
equals you're most productive, so you're contributing, and then this is what's rewarded.
Yes.
When in fact that is not necessarily. There has to be that balance,
yes.
and you can work joyfully, live your divine purpose, and ignite that, and still be in connection and honor yourself.
Right.
But it's finding that. So I think the coaches, the gurus, the dolphins, and our animals, they're the ones that are helping us to remember. We just forget.
Simple walk with the dog. Where they're sniffing and having such joy in the moment, and you smile and you laugh at them, and that kind of lifts up your entire energy spirit, and it reminds you of the simple things.
Abby's looking up right now. I was like, yes,
exactly, right,
yes,
right, yes. And it's also the simple thing of a good meal, a conscious meal. We talked about veganism or vegetarianism, and it's just the respect of that all life matters, and that we look at the buffalo, look at the elephants, look at everything else. They don't eat meat; they eat from the earth, and the earth is abundant. And I think when we learn to grow our own food, or to buy consciously from the markets and the farmers that are lovingly planting and seeding and growing for us, when we prepare our food together as a family or friends, when we eat in appreciation with laughter and joy and celebration of each other's company over this meal, I think that's the energy in which we eat in, and that food is so much more fortified.
It's blessed.
Because of that we become healthier beings, because of the way not only of what we're eating, but how we're eating, and in the appreciation of what we're eating.
And coming into, just chiming into that as well, is even as we're communing with the food, food and earth, as we're putting our energy there, earth responds.
Yes.
So it's like it's a cycle. It's a give take, and it does begin with just being mindful, just being conscious, not eating in the car, but rather sitting down and celebrating the food and being with your food as you eat.
Yes.
So not sitting in front of computer.
Yes.
And if people are in the habit of that, that's okay. It's no labels, no judgments, but just step away, go outside and enjoy your lunch outside, and then really, no matter what you're eating, be with it.
Yes.
And really enjoy it, savor it, and giving, as you say, gratitude for it, for that whole process.
And it's not about kind of becoming that vegetarian or that vegan right now, or judgment.
Right.
It's about integrating those dishes. Be willing to try. You will actually find that burger you craved, that big steak that you crave, you don't crave it anymore, because the foods that you've introduced yourself to have more energy to them. They have more signature and more flavor to them, and that you actually find yourself craving that, because not only is it feeding the body and the soul and the consciousness, but they actually taste better. It's like a symphony going on in your mouth. Right? So
it is.
Be adventurous. Step out of it.
Recognizes that.
Oh gosh, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Completely. And I'm convinced too, because I know this in my own experience and working with clients as well. Over the years, people have come back and said, gosh, my diet was really laden and rich with fats and processed foods, sugars, and I've really changed my life, and I've changed the way that my relationship with food. And they didn't go out on a tropical island and remove themselves away from. They didn't have to go to a monastery. Nothing drastic like that at all. No. But just to the willingness to try. When you see that, that's actually loving myself. I really want this for myself. I'm going to try this squash, or I'm going to try this new, quinoa.
Why deprive yourself of all those yummy things out there?
There's so many yummy things out there.
My
So
my
many
son
yummy things that are
is about to open up a deli in a local place where you can see the horses across the road and the mountains
oh
all around you, and it's called Humble Roots, and all the food will come from the local farmers. And my other daughter is vegan, and his girlfriend is vegetarian, so he's been exploring with dishes, and
yeah.
he made the most wonderful shepherd's pie,
Oh,
and
shepherd's
and kind of made more with the mushrooms as the meat, and other ingredients, and it was scrumptious.
You can get those big, juicy mushrooms too, or some
Yes,
of the more flavorful
yeah,
mushrooms.
yes,
Things you would not have previously explored
right,
or even thought about
yeah,
are available. Shepherd's pie is such a rich dish,
yes, exactly,
and filled with nutrients if you put the vegetables in, and you don't have to use the cream. You can use there are so many other alternatives that you could
exactly.
explore, play with. How was it? Was
It
it
was
delicious?
absolutely yummy. And he also made a vegan poutine, and he made a vegetarian poutine, and the vegan poutine tasted better.
Oh my gosh. So now you guys like sampling.
Yes, exactly. No, I don't know if I'll ever become pure vegan because I do love fish and I do love cheese and eggs, but I don't consider that any animal has to die for that, for the eggs or for the cheese. But I'm most
And you
certainly
have to
going that
find
way.
what aligns with you too,
Yeah,
because it's not about forcing
yes,
something as much as finding your where you feel, as you say, rooted or connected in, and it's
yeah,
like this works for me. This feels
yeah.
good
It's
for
not a
me.
mental conscious; it becomes a body conscious. When your
Yes.
body says, no, I don't want that, right? Your pattern in your mind is always eating it, but no, I don't want to eat that anymore,
Yeah.
right? And
And
it's
there along those lines is what you could be a salad eater
yeah,
eating, healthy kale all day long you want, but if you're eating it with this disdain for
yeah,
self or
yeah.
negativity or
You change the chemistry of it. Yeah,
gotta eat.
yeah,
That's also, I mean, you're pouring that energy into
yeah.
yourself, into the body, into what you're consuming. So yeah, I agree with you there. And boy, sharing with family and having these, I love what you're talking about, the delights of sampling.
Yeah, yeah,
And we benefit, we take all those nutrients with us.
yes,
And I would say, too, invite your pets to join you on this journey, embarking on a journey, exploring with your animals. I know I feed our animals, our cats, they eat broccoli, they eat sugar snap peas,
hmm,
vegetables, and so you can share this also with your animals, this pure foods, whole foods eating. And blessing the water that you drink,
oh, I
and
mean,
blessing the food that you.
there's so much science now behind energized water and how healing it
Yes.
is. I have another genre called
Yeah.
eco solutions. Where we
Oh,
talk
yes,
to
I
the,
remember reading about yeah.
to the science and the sustainability, but also to the science behind what is going on. And there is so much going on. And there was always the discovery of this pyramid, 11,000 years old, and the information that they're getting from this pyramid, and the water, and the healing, and the energy, and serenity, and all that stuff that's in there is just. The thing is, everything we're looking for is here already. It has been for thousands and thousands of years. It's just that
Yeah,
we've been going on this blinkered linear path, and it's time to take
right,
the
right.
blinkers off, stop and
Yes.
smell the roses, pay
Right.
attention to where you are, and be interactive and participant in your own life inch by inch.
Yes, inch by inch. Therein lies, I think, a very key important note is to remind ourselves to be gentle with ourselves as we become more awake. Sometimes people, I think they have an awakening, they come from that and they're like, what do I do now? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I've been doing this and this. I need to change this and oh, I need to move to another country or another continent, or I need to make all
Another
these
planet.
changes. And that's not necessarily
Yeah.
that's not, I need to save the world right now, and we could take it one little baby
Yeah.
step at a time. That's really fine. And you're right about the overwhelming information, the
Yeah.
science, the studies, the technology, what we're seeing, and it's all coming back to the basics of humanity, to this ancient knowledge.
Yes. And
It's
also
just
that, energy was always meant to be free for everybody, and I think this is, what we're seeing right now in the world, especially in certain countries, is how opulence, greed, and power has become the cesspool. And, you know, now we're recognizing that on a mega scale, and we're realizing if we don't deal with this, it's going to contaminate all the waters. So it's now to skim that off and start purifying the waters of life with love, with kindness, with respect for one another, and stop looking at each other as something different, but rather as a human race on this beautiful planet that we are bastizing. And we really need to step into some respect and value not of all life, and that includes the planet's life.
Yes,
For
the life
without its life, what
Mother.
life does it give us, right?
Right. Yes. Yes, and just to go outside and look up.
Yes.
Notice the sun.
And be
Sun is
grateful even
always-
for the rain. You know, it waters
Yeah.
everything, right? And when the
That's
winds
right.
come along, they're just blowing away the cobwebs, you know.
Well, we live in Seattle. You, I think, live in a region
Vancouver.
that's
Very
yes,
similar, very similar weather, yeah.
so there's rain.
Yeah.